Hello everyone and welcome to my blog. My name is Mal and I want to talk to you today about Kindle ebooks. Now, you might be searching online now and you'll have seen the title, The Truth in My View about Kindle ebooks. Now, I don't want to be a purveyor of doom, but I want to just inject a little bit of reality into what's going on with Kindle, because you go online and you'll notice the videos were about 2012, 2013 when they're published, and I think they were accurate at the time. And they talk about how, you know, it's very, very cheap to get a Kindle ebook onto Amazon. You can find videos on how to format them. It's actually very easy. If you've got Microsoft Word and you're quite good at English and you can use page breaks and you understand about formatting and things, it's actually not hard. Also, it's very cheap to get. You don't have to pay to get a Kindle ebook up onto Amazon. You just have to, have some sort of cover and, be able to write a document, and you've got to be able to put some copy together. And it's quite, the process of actually getting it up there is reasonably straightforward. And even though you can get tutorials on how to do it, I guess if I give you the link to actually put in a Kindle on the KDP the KDP publishing platform, you'd probably manage it. If you can, if you've ever registered for a website before, you'd probably get there in the end. So that bit's not hard. What you also have to do is you've got to go onto somewhere like Fiverr, which is F5RR.com, which is like a marketplace for graphics, and you can get a good cover made for about $5 to $10. Great variance in contractors. You have to do a bit of searching to find a good one. But what I'm saying is it's fairly decently easy to get a product for sale. Now what the vloggers say is that you can make, they say, like easily, if you find an in-demand product, you go on to keywords, you search for who's searching for this. How-to stuff works best. Like how to grow tomatoes is quite a good, a well-searched term. And if you create an ebook, they say, well, you'll go at the top of Amazon searches because Google loves Amazon, which they do, and you will make whatever, $600 a month. Now, naturally, if it doesn't cost you anything to put a book up there, and you're going to make $600 a month per book, what if I had 10 books? I'll make $6,000. What if I had 100 books? Well, I'll make $60,000 a month, just like that, bang. I mean, who wouldn't be interested in that? Even high-powered executives who make 100 grand a year couldn't even get close to your earnings if you managed to do that right. So naturally, people back in 2012, which is a similar thing to I think when people were, during the early days of the internet, when I was first making a GeoCities website like 13 years ago, you built it and people came, built it and they came. There wasn't that many sites to find really, and the search engines weren't that good. So now, obviously, everyone's online. It's much harder to find products. Everything kind of decent costs money really, whereas at the very beginning, if you were around at that time, or you were online at the time like I was at university, everything was kind of free and you kind of got good stuff. But now the stuff's a lot better, but you've got to pay for it. YouTube being the notable exception. Please don't change anything Google on that. But going back to Kindle, it was kind of a similar situation in 2012, whereas people, you built an ebook and the market wasn't that saturated. And what people say is, oh no, it's okay because the marketplace is like going to increase tenfold by 2020 and demand's going to get through the roof, and Kindle's already selling more ebooks than hard copies, and you've got create space if you want to sell a hard copy, and all that stuff's really true. But the problem you have as an individual Kindle ebook seller is that if the market gets 10 times bigger, therefore there's 10 times more products, and all the niches will be full, and your book will be harder and harder to pick out from the rest. And what I find now when I search for things just to test, is this a market that I can go into? All of the books look the same, and you can tell straight away who is an ebook seller against who is a professional author, and they look distinctly different. Now, I guess the trick is to look like them rather than look like an ebook seller. But I just want to kill some of the myths that you get in this, because I've tried this and I've got a book on there which I actually end up writing myself, called 21 Ways to Write a Great Cover Letter, and it's about when you want to apply for a job, how to make your cover letter sound really good. And I did what you recommended to do, and I went on to Elance and I instructed a writer for $65. I figured, invest 50 quid per book and then it's on there for life and making potentially $600 a month, like they tell you. And I've got a cover made for $10, and that bit's good value. I couldn't get it for $5. I don't know where people get that from, but and obviously I got the book from this person and it was terrible. I'm a decent writer because I've written in the past. In 2009, I worked for a year as a copywriter for bwin.com, the betting company, where I did lots of blogs for them. I had 3 per day. I was writing about, I think I did 600 by the end of the year, articles, and obviously I honed my craft. I've always been a decent writer, but I honed my craft there, and I work for an MP in the UK now, and I do speeches. Sometimes I also did a big research submission for an open cast hearing where the MP had to give a presentation that was scrutinised by barristers. That was quite important. And obviously that takes a bit of thought. So I've always been good at writing. I always think that with writing, I'm going to give you some tips on how to write if you're not sure how to do it. That'll hopefully help you write better stuff, because, some people are brilliant at it and they just flow. Other people find it a bit more difficult, and then you've got like text to speech, speech to text stuff, which I'll talk about as well. But obviously the first thing I'll say is it is simply a myth that there's a few issues with it. Firstly is you paid $65 for, you're going to be, the kind of going rate is about $10 per 1,000 words. Now the first problem you have is that I had a few writers that just regurgitated stuff off websites. And what I did was I put sections of the text into Copyscape, which you can check, and it came up with web pages. It was basically just lifted off the internet. Anybody can do that. So the first thing you have an issue of is quality of writers. It is really hard to find good quality writers, and you will pay more than the base rate to get them. The second thing is, can you do a better job yourself? Because once I got this basic thing back, I basically rewrote it all. Because what was being said to me wasn't really anything that I couldn't do myself. Now, if you're a terrible writer, or perhaps you're dyslexic, then that shouldn't rule you out of having a go at these things, then fine. But you have to really be careful. You've got to find someone good, and that probably comes at a bit of a premium, because writing is difficult. I can write. Let's have a look. I can write probably roughly 1,000 words an hour if I really just sit down and go for it. On most topics, if I understand the topic, if I have a general, and I can and my strategy, just to give you a quick bit of writing advice, is just to basically, mull over the issue. So talk about, and as you're writing about something, drop in the other side of the coin. So if you're talking about, for example, politics, and you're talking about the left versus the right, you might talk about what left-wing politics is, and then you'll go into why the right think that it's really bad that left-wing politics is the way it is. And then you can talk about why the left hate the right, and then you can talk about, what's perhaps the good bits of both, where the middle ground is, how you see things. So you can kind of just sort of travel around the issue and craft an article, and then you go back and refine it. And all you have to have really is what you want to talk about, and the kind of point that you're going for, the kind of conclusion, which you should have in your title if you're writing an ebook. And an ebook only has to be about 5 to 7 to 10,000 words. I like to think that you want to look at it like a dissertation at university, and you should be putting that amount of work into you need a good piece of work. So that's kind of the writing side of it. And also the issue is about how much these people are getting paid. They're probably earning far less than minimum wage. So there is an ethical thing towards it where, yes, they're not doing that much. I don't blame someone who, in fact, let's say they're in I think usually a third world country, and then the kind of justification you hear on the internet is that they'd be far happier writing 1,000 words for you for $10 than they are working in a sweatshop factory for whatever, however long it takes to make $10. I'm not sure that's fully justifiable from a moral perspective. You should give an honest pay for honest work, and especially if you're going to make all this money afterwards. I think for me, if I'm writing an ebook, which I still do, by the way, and I'll talk about what I do, you need to be paying a fair wage for what you're asking people to do for you. So in terms of another myth, let's get this out in the open as well. My ebooks, I did that one, and I also did I did a research for a topic, and I found that social anxiety was a big search thing. People obviously care a lot about that, and certainly myself, I've had confidence issues in the past. You know, I'm a big lad, and you know, I'm not great at talking to women. I'm much better talking to a camera than what I am talking to women and getting them to go out with me. So, you know, I kind of put this together, and I got someone to write it for me. I tested it out fully. And I got back something that was all right. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't. I think I would have probably, if I went to the library and I took some really close attention to what I was doing, I'd have probably done a better job, I think. But again, I wasn't paying a lot for it. I think I was paying $75, and they did the work. I copy-scaped it. It was genuine work, which is a big plus for the stuff that just comes back with these copy things. So if you do get work done, you've got to check it in the copy stuff before you pay, because that is a big issue. And you've got to put in your description as well that it must be copy-scaped to a, you know, genuine work, basically. Otherwise, you know, there's penalties. And don't be scared just not to pay if you feel that that's been breached. I didn't pay the person who just sent me basically stuff that was on the internet that I found in seconds when I searched for the topic. So I found what they'd found, because Google's quite consistent that way. So yeah, so I don't want to kind of kill, you know, can you make money on Kindle? Absolutely. But it takes much more than just this kind of write it, get a cover made, get your book written, put it on the internet, boom, 600 quid a month. Well, hey, I mean, that would just be far too easy. And, you know, I'm not saying that this wasn't the case back in maybe 2012, 2013. It might have been. However, it certainly isn't now. And as the market increases, you've got to differentiate your books. So you're going to have to really work on the quality. So I'm going to give you some advice now in terms of how I think if you want to pursue this, it's a good idea. Now, this is the bit where I kind of probably should have done some more research myself, but I know that recently a friend of mine got in touch and said that he was making, I think, $4,000 a month selling children's books, which is fantastic on Kindle. It just shows you it is possible to do it if you're good, but there's things you have to do. But Amazon recently changed the way that they work, and I think they now have a product where you can pay $10 a month and you can read anything you like. Now that obviously decreases the amount that you earn per read, per sale, so it is going to be harder. The problem you have as well is that some of these authors are just regurgitating, outputting hundreds of books a month, which is flooding the market full of average stuff. So, you know, first bit of advice I'd say is you've really got to work on getting superb quality stuff written. Yes, you're only going to be able to charge $1.99 for it, of which you're going to make $1. You know, Amazon love the fact that people are putting all this nightmare stuff out there because they make $1 every time it's bought. So yes, they're going to let you put it on there for free, and they're not going to, excuse me, they're not going to charge you for the ongoing sort of housing of it on their servers. You know, this is fairly obvious. So I think they do have a charge eventually of 15 cents or something if you sell over a certain amount, but you know, that's nothing if you're making sales. So that's a problem. So you have to, but also it's the marketing, guys. You know, you've got to market books. I've hardly made a sale, you know, and that's not because I'm rubbish. It's not because my products are rubbish. It's not because my products aren't in niches or genres, if you want to use the horrible words like that, where people aren't searching for them. They definitely are searching for them. But like my YouTube channels, they don't get many hits because I'm not well known on the internet. And I haven't got an author profile that people are like, hello. You know, if J.K. Rowling released my book, she would make millions of it. You know, it's simple as that. It's about marketing. It's about people having a reason to buy what you're selling because it's available elsewhere. This is the thing they're saying, like bigger sales as well. You know, you go sell a windows to somebody, which I have done in the past. Well, fascias anyway, roof line and stuff. You walk in the house, they can buy that off another 4 or 5 companies. So the only thing you're trying to do as a salesman, or what they would say a surveyor, is trying to build a relationship and a rapport where they just decide to go with it with you, rather than wait for someone else to persuade them. And generally, they'll go for someone they like. So if you convince them that you're likable, they'll buy it off you if they really genuinely need it and can afford what you're selling. So there's always an art to these things. The set it and forget is over as far as I'm concerned, unless you get lucky and the book just goes berserk. But you have to be marketing it. Now, it's beyond the scope of this video to start talking at this point about marketing, but you do have to spend time getting into Facebook groups. You have to get on Twitter, you have to be following people, you have to be putting in a lot of effort for no guaranteed return to get the message of your book out there. And when you're on, and if you can hear any noise outside, that's them just coming to empty my bin. I've already managed to smash my pint glass into my sink this morning, so I'm glad they're here to get that away. So yeah, basically you've got to be able to market your book, and it's a lot more than just posting "please buy my book" into Facebook groups. Although that's a good thing to join, but if you go into, for example, just out of interest, go into a YouTube gaming group. I've got a YouTube gaming channel. Go into YouTube gaming groups, and it's just literally post after post saying, "Hey, released my new Minecraft video today, check it out guys, give me a like," and none of the videos have any likes because people aren't interested. They go in, they post their own video, and then they never take part. You've got to participate in the forums and in the groups, and bear in mind that these forums have, and it's weird, every single decent forum will have someone who's been a member for 10 years, has millions of posts, and they guard that forum's integrity with their life. And if you come in and try and sell something, there's hell to pay. So you've got to engage with the forum, you've got to build trust in that avenue as well. Again, there's no guarantees, and then you've eventually got to very, very soft sell them. "Oh, hi guys, I've just released this book." But for God's sake, don't let them think that you're there only to sell your book, even if you are, because they'll just not engage. You might even find yourself, suspiciously banned from it or whatever. So just let's conclude this and say, can you make money on Kindle? Yes. Can you make money from ebooks? Absolutely. Can you make a lot of money from ebooks and Kindle? You can make loads of money from it, but it's not as easy as simply buying a course, starting to instruct people on Elance and Fiverr, uploading and forgetting about it. You have to really look, and I don't know a lot about marketing, so if you want to get involved in this business, this type of thing, I would say do what I'm doing. What I'm doing now is I'm writing I'm playing around with like text to speech, which isn't great. It's on Windows 7 if you've got it. I find it kind of fun to do. It's I've still got that kind of wonder about when I say something, it comes up in words. I kind of find that cool. But you do have to get good stuff written down. Maybe go to the library, because libraries are going these days. Use the services. Do a bit of research, treat it like a dissertation at university. If you're going to publish something, ask people for money, make sure that you're asking them to buy it, that it's worth buying. That's like an integrity thing. You've got to, don't sell rubbish. You wouldn't sell rubbish, ripped clothes out of your closet on a sale. Well, maybe you would, but you shouldn't. Don't sell substandard gear on Amazon, because you're fighting against people who do. And obviously what you get told is, get friends and family to review your stuff. You've got to fully engage in the marketing side of it to earn it. It is worth doing, because if it works, and if you have a portfolio of 50 decent books, you'll make a lot of money. But that's going to take a long, long time to put it together. If you make one decent book a month after month after month after month, and in 2 years' time you can have 25 books that you manage your portfolio on, and they are good books, and it can take you a month to write. You can actually find it quite fun. You just focus on that book for the month. It can be a real labour of love for you if you're into the topic that you're writing about. That's another thing. You've got to keep a consistent topic, build a profile. You've got to keep giving people what they want over and over and over. So if you get a topic like, say for example, motivation, one that I quite enjoy reading, if you start writing about that, or workplace things, how to be a better leader, how to be a better manager, you've got to keep feeding that kind of, and build yourself as an expert. Even if you use a pen name, build that as an expert, and you do YouTube videos about what you write about and everything. So I hope that's helpful for you in terms of it's not designed to destroy your motivation. And I'm sure there's people out there that will read that saying, well, actually you're wrong, you can make a lot of money. I don't dispute that. What I dispute is people saying that it's easy, that you put a book on. Don't be upset if you put a book onto Amazon Kindle that you've worked hard on and it doesn't sell that many. Don't worry about it, because most books don't. If you look at the rankings, you'll see that your sales ranking will maybe be like 400,000. Like one of mine's 585,000 on Kindle, because they rank everything. And when you go to the description page, it's all there in front of you. And that was off one sale. So if you're looking at something that's like 900,000, he's made one sale twice as long length of time as what you managed. and that's how slow it is. So if you're making any sales at all, you're probably in the top 100,000, which is what you're looking for. And then if you do any better than that, it's a bonus. But yeah, it's worth doing. It's a fun hobby. It can be a business, but it's not easy. And don't fall for this trick that's when everyone says it's easy, because I must have researched everything online, from Betfair trading to, you know, blogs. And I've had a blog that got me a lot of money in the past. It's winner.co.uk, which is no longer online. I had a podcast running from it. I was getting money for links off organisations and companies. You know, it enjoyed a little bit of success, but it was so hard. Like, it just died down, and to keep that going would have been like a full-time job. And don't forget, guys, if people are saying it's a full-time job, that means they're talking a minimum 8 hours a day. You're thinking that's 8 hours of work a day just to kind of get some undescripted return. At least you know when you work your job at work, then you're getting your wage at the end of the month if the company still exists, you know, so you kind of have a motivation to go. But, you know, I hope that's helpful and not too negative. It's designed to actually be positive about telling you what you need to do to make a success of it. So I wish you all the very best in the business. If you can make it work, you know, well done. And I enjoy every month looking, and it's a great feeling when you get a sale. I don't get many of them, but it's a nice feeling when you get them. And, you know, if I suddenly hit a good one, brilliant, and I'll be very grateful. But just remember, as you do it, stay involved, keep going, enjoy writing, enjoy publishing, enjoy the whole process, but make sure you do everything, including marketing, which is probably the most important thing. You can have any product you like, but if no one knows about it and they don't trust you that you're an ethical seller as you sell it, they won't buy. And as the internet gets bigger and as the marketplace gets bigger, that's even more and more important. Okay, thank you for watching, guys. I really appreciate your time, and I hope you found the video helpful. If you did, leave me a like below, and keep an eye out for future videos. Thanks for watching.